All right, you're very welcome along to a special RTÉ Rugby podcast here coming from the Aviva Stadium at the launch of RTÉ Sport and Virgin Media's television coverage of the upcoming Guinness Six Nations Championship. I'm here with former Ireland internationals Jamie Heaslip and Hannah Tyrrell, who'll be on the RTÉ panel over the coming weeks. Guys, thanks a million for joining us here.
We're actually in person. You usually do this virtually, don't you? So,
yeah, this is a depart. Well, not really, Jamie. That's why we've been doing these things virtually. But listen, we're into the kind of couple of weeks before the championship's kicking off. Squad was announced this morning, 37-man squad, and obviously we'll get straight into it. The big surprise, Jamie, no Joey Carbery. Well, I say big surprise. Are you surprised?
I was going to say it's the start of Six Nations, and I know it is with you. You got fresh kicks on there. I like it.
The Christmas vouchers came out.
It's okay. So it's funny with Joey. I think initially your gut is surprised not to see it there because you've seen it so many times. But when you step back and look on the merit of selection, I don't think you are surprised. I think it's very fair selection at that position. What surprises me is inclusion of people like Stockdale. I think that does surprise me. Gavin Coombs, again, initially surprised you, but then on merit of it doesn't. I think he's taken the feedback or lack of inclusion in previous camps to really go away, take the learnings, take the messages, and come back better and stronger and fitter, which he looks like. And then it's exciting to see a selection like Jamie Osborne, great Lily White, like myself, and I think it's great to see his inclusion and a lot of excitement around him and opportunity he might get. And Crowley as well, come back to Joey. I think that's great.
Yeah, and Hannah, it's to go back to the out-half situation, it is kind of funny if you were to say to someone probably 6 months or 8 months ago, what would the three Irish out-halves be coming into the Six Nations when, I think, Harry Byrne has had a few injury niggles and Kieran Frawley is out. But for the most part, it's kind of they're choosing from a full deck. And if you were to say Johnny Sexton, Ross Byrne and Jack Crowley, I think a lot of people would probably have been very surprised by that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that comes off the back of nearly every single squad over the last couple of years where Joey has been fit and available. He has been selected, but we don't really know Andy Farrell's thinking just yet or the discussion he had with Joey Carbery, but he obviously just feels like, that Ross Byrne is giving him something a little bit extra right now, and that, Jack Crowley is a new kid on the block who's learning his trade and can do it a couple of extra minutes, and I think he could be a really good impact off the bench in this year's Six Nations. What has
Joey Carbery not been bringing over the last couple of months that the likes of Ross Byrne and Jack Crowley have been offering?
I think I don't know if that's the question to ask. I think Joey's been given, 40 odd caps. He's been in Munster since 2017, isn't it? Yeah. I know he's had a couple injuries along the way and a bit of a slow start, but and playing under a coaching regime previously to Roundtree that probably didn't suit his game or whatever. But I don't think you're going to learn a whole lot more from having Joey in the squad right now, right? Just on, let's just keep it at that level, for example, not necessarily focus on form. So if you're kind of Andy Farrell and you're sitting there and you go, okay, we need to make sure we have plenty of actual real starting options here at 10. Okay, Ross hasn't really got a lot of time with Ireland, but he's doing it week in, week out with Leinster. He's doing really, really well. He stepped up in November. Okay, you know what? We know Ross can run this back line and run this team really well and be very organised in that regard and command that respect. Let's reward him for that. Jack is exciting, right? Let's get, he's an exciting talent and exciting prospect. We can further our depth in that position potentially. Let's give him, there's nothing stopping him just parachuting Joey in, by the way, here. And I wouldn't be surprised if Joey maybe gets a little bit of exposure in camp. But I think he's kind of further increasing his depth in that position, giving vital minutes to players that probably need it coming into a World Cup year, rewarding form, which is reinforcing in terms of the internal competition and selection, making sure everyone just stays on their toes in camp. So I think, I don't know, Joey should always look to be evolving his game. Every player should be look to evolve in his game, but I don't know if that's the question to ask right now.
Do you expect to see a response out of him in the next couple of games?
bloody hope so.
Yeah, look, obviously, I think, as you say, sport is all about adapting to what's been put in front of you. And for Joey, I'm sure he would have been looking forward to the Six Nations and playing in it. And he still yet may play a part, we're not sure. But for him, his focus right now will be Munster and getting some minutes in. And he'll absolutely be looking to put in some big performances and show Andy Farrell what he can do and that he can actually have an impact on this Irish squad.
In terms of some of the other notable calls, you mentioned Jamie Osborne, the only uncapped player in the 37. What has impressed you most about him over the kind of 18 months, 2 seasons we've seen out of him so far?
Size of his legs. Great quadzillas on him. The money makers. Good thing this is a podcast.
This isn't getting edited out.
He's a big man.
He's a big man. He's a big specimen. He's from Kildare. I can't say that enough. I think, look, it's funny. I reached out to some players who were playing with him, kind of going like, is it hype or is he the real deal? Like, being with him, they're all saying it's the real deal. He's got a monster of a kick. He's a big player. And he's got a lot of potential, and he's taking the chances as they come. He's playing, imagine playing outside Johnny Sexton and the confidence that must give you in terms of, like, Johnny says do this, and you're like, okay, you know what I mean, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to work. And also you got to remember, I would say a lot of Leinster's internal training sessions and games are probably harder than the majority of games they play week in, week out in domestic or European league. And he's up to that standard. He's rising above that. And I think he's getting rewarded for that. And I think this is the natural progression step for him to get hopefully get capture in the Six Nations. And I think he'll take it. And he'll be a great, again, furthering our depth in a position where we've probably relied on, Robbie and Gary for so long, and Robbie, Gary, kind of Bundy, kind of
that trio. Yeah,
it's great to have some young blood, and you know what? It's no harm, right? It's no harm to kind of like, fire a rocket up fellas and kind of going like, here's a young buck, he's going to be coming in there, and he'll come in and be like excited just to be there, but then he'll get a taste, and he'll be like, oh, I want this, and he'll be pushing the other lads. Like, that's what you hope, right? And that's what you want, because then that will elevate the standards of everyone, make sure no one's sitting on their toes. And that's what we need right now for not just this Six Nations, but also coming into a World Cup.
And Hannah, does it say a lot for the work Osborne is doing around the pitch, just like his general work in attack and defence, that, he's only scored 2 tries for Leinster, one of them being last week and the other one being on his debut. So he's played a lot of rugby in between where he hasn't been scoring. And when you see youngsters coming on, a lot of the time, the early kind of opinions of them are based around how much they're scoring. But with him, it's generally just around his 80 minutes out on the pitch.
Yeah, but I think that's where you can tell a lot about a player. We all love to score. I'm sure you love to score, but it doesn't always happen every game, and players around you know that a lot of people who get on the end of tries aren't the one who have done most of the work in that. And I think centre is such a pivotal position both in attack and defence that, he's able to show that within a Leinster team that has such quality depth, he's able to stand up. He got player of the match last week, and as we mentioned, he is a big man, full of talent. He's well able to defend and put some big hits in, and he can attack as well. And if he gets scores on the end of it, I'm sure he's delighted and Leinster are delighted. But I think his focus going into games is how can he help the team and how can he improve the general play of the team, and not how many tries can I score.
He's going to be excited about getting the gear.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier on about how, like, with a lot of these calls, it shows that Andy Farrell is, not afraid to just make his selections on form. And one of those players who has been getting in and has been playing really, really well now is Gavin Coombs, back in the squad. What have you seen from him over this 8-game block, particularly when you consider how tough he'd had it at the start of the season, being dropped? That was obviously a huge blow, and he's come back 6 tries in his last 8 games, and he's been really, really influential for Munster.
I think the try thing skews it a little bit. Like, a lot of his tries have been like pretty up close and personal, and he's a big man, right? So he's leveraging his strengths there, and it's very hard to stop him, right? But I think I don't think that's been the problem in Gavin. I think Gavin broke through. He's you talk about big specimens. He's a massive human, and I think he slotted in a second row at the weekend. He's so tall, but as well he's wide as well. But I think he broke through in a really weird way. It's kind of easy for an individual to break onto the scene because no one knows about you, and maybe they don't do the research on you, or they don't do kind of the back end work on you. So you kind of have, you catch them off guard. Real test becomes in season 2 and season 3, and how you kind of kick on from there. And I felt that he broke through, but then kind of like plateaued to a certain degree, and it's probably been the shot in the arm that he needed. Been probably a bit humbling for him not to be included, and take some messages back and work on his game, work on his fitness, and that's what it looks like. He's looking a lot fitter athletically. He looks like he's getting through a lot more work on the field, and he's not coming alive just inside the 22. He's been busy throughout the entire field. For someone like him, that kind of size player, getting through massive work, getting on the ball around the entire field, not just like 5-10 meters out from the line, that's a dangerous proposition to defend against. And if he kind of can build on that, because the fact of the matter is, if you sit in your laurels and you don't evolve as a player in the back row in Ireland, you will not get in, because the competition is so high. You've got World Player of the Year in that back row right now. You've got Caelan Doris, who is just immense. You've got a former Lion who was a Lion in 2021 who can't get into the team right now. That's the level of competition. You've got a former Lion captain there as well, who's like, grumpy as hell, the guy you want on your side, and not going to give up his position. So this is only step one for Gavin, for example. He's got to deliver again. He's got to up his game again to put his name in the hat to start. And if he doesn't, then he'll get another very humbling lesson.
And final one for you both before I get the final prediction for who's going to win the tournament. But if we look at the fixtures, Ireland have France at home. That's probably the big game early on in the competition for Ireland. France are the only of the major nations Andy Farrell hasn't beaten over this World Cup cycle. And if you consider there's a chance that they could be playing each other in a World Cup quarter-final in a few months' time as well, how important would it be to just get over a hurdle like that ahead of... Okay, Jamie, you're sighing on that one. What's your thought on that?
No, you go for it.
I think, obviously that probably is in the back of Andy Farrell's mind at the minute, and he'd love to get a win on that, but as we mentioned earlier, I don't think losing to France would be the be-all and end-all for this Ireland team. Would it be nice? Absolutely. And do I hope it happens? And do I think it will happen? Absolutely, with that home advantage. But, for Andy Farrell, his focus will just be on the Six Nations as a whole, taking it one game at a time, giving the relevant players minutes that he feels is going to prepare them adequately for the World Cup coming up this year. And yeah, look, you'd be hoping to avoid France, but if you avoid France, you're getting New Zealand. So look, either way, your games are going to be tough come that quarterfinal, and we have to be prepared for that, whoever it is. But it sets us up for a cracking Six Nations.
Yeah, and I suppose the flip side as well with France is they have a lot of injuries. They're coming to Dublin with a squad that's probably going to be a little bit different to what they'll have at the World Cup anyway.
Yeah, I think I think Andy's did a great job of getting the guys being quite comfortable with, saying they want to win a World Cup. Like, I remember, we weren't even allowed to say that or think that. God forbid, you're playing to win a competition, right? So they've gotten very comfortable saying that in terms of vision. They've gotten very comfortable saying, yeah, we want to win the Six Nations as well, right? There's nothing wrong with saying that, right? That's the ambition of everyone. I think in terms of expectation, where we are in terms of our position in World Rugby right now, where we want to be, we should win our home games. We should, no matter who it is now. That's the standard that we are at. That's the expectation. We should be very comfortable in that. And I think it's not the be all and end all in the year that it is, or even in the Six Nations. You can lose a game, still win the Six Nations. But I think the expectation of us winning, it's not a good outcome if we lose, but it's not the be all and end all, if that makes sense. No? Am I talking waffle?
No, I get you. Quick answers. Who's going to win the Six Nations?
Ireland. Ireland are going to win.
My heart says Ireland.
What does your head say?
Don't know.
Do you ever know what your head says?
Never get it, no.
That's a really quick answer.
There's battles going on in my head the whole time. I would not be good in the bookies. The France game is going to be huge.
Is that the decider, essentially, you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. That's Jamie Heaslip and Hannah Tyrrell, who'll be part of RTÉ's Six Nations coverage here. A reminder, the games that will be on RTÉ rounds 2, 3 and 4 against France, Italy and Scotland, and all games as well live on RTÉ Radio 1. Guys, thanks a million for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.